Yo, what's up, y'all? This is your boy, DJ Little Lion, on the number one leading station, FonyeRadio.com.
Crank it up.
Crank it up.
You're now listening to the sounds of DJ Leo, the Lion, on FonyeRadio.com.
Coming up right now, I have one of the songs off the soundtrack of Music Lovers, and this is the theme by Jazzemoto. Check this out, and the next thing you will hear is the interview with Jazzemoto and Benton Jeter here on FonyeRadio.com.
I'm just an addict, addicted to music. I'm just an addict, addicted to music, and everyday habit. I gotta choose it.
You're born into a world unseen. Now what that means is imagine your life on paper, blank, clean. No thoughts, no ideas, no conception, no recollection or selection of your life and its past direction. Nurtured by the woman, the nation of God, say earth. Conceived, relieved, and retrieved through birth, self-worth, and awareness. Hero, your mom's your first hero, cause she fixes everything, ruling her domain like Nero. Connection on pick up, disconnect when put down, but the first connect of connections was made through sound. The pound of your heartbeat, the sound of your mom's voice, so sweet. Couldn't see it or touch it, but we could feel it. Instinctively in tune with the mind as a seed, so real, it's music in another form. I can't lie, but we love it from the womb. But the question is, why?
Music lovers, why are you who you are?
Into life, going from infant to child. Sound moves your mind, improves your thoughts and styles. Certain sounds cause frowns, certain sounds cause smiles. We too young to see it, so when its growth takes a while. In our everyday life, music remains the backdrop, the rhythm and pulse of a beat, up until the track stops. Body language full volume plus 20 dB. Felt so good, had to hit the repeat. Who needs to see? Even as a child, when you feel that groove, your body itches till you make that move to show and prove. So dance, go ahead and let your body go. Man, I know you know that you can do it. Go ahead and feel the vibe and take it all inside. Then take a breath and run through it, cause you're hypnotized by the groove once completely recognized. We obey it on command, but the question is, why?
Music lovers, why are you who you are?
I'm just an addict, addicted to music, and everyday habit. I gotta choose it.
Music lovers, why are you who you are?
I'm just an addict, addicted to music. I gotta choose
In the Bronx, 1970s, New York City, vast desolation and devastation, grimy and gritty. Open locks every block, deadly warfare for cops. The gangs that bang with hang, even down to slingshot. Hip-hop music was the force that brought it all to a calm. And Bronx River, once known to be Little Vietnam. Cause music soothes the savage, somewhat true on the average. Rhythm causes hypnotism, your mind's locked in a prism. From rock to blues to jazz to soul to pop to R&B to disco, and then to hip-hop to salsa to merengue to calypso to reggae to soca to bachata. DJ, let them tunes play. The groove, the rhythm, the pulse, the beat, the vibe, the bounce, the heat, the touch your feet and make your body wanna go across the floor. Music flavors by the piles. Why do you love yours?
Music lovers, why are you who you are?
I'm just an addict, addicted to music, and everyday habit. I gotta choose it.
Music lovers, why are you who you are?
I'm just an addict, addicted to music. I'm just an addict. I gotta choose it.
Yeah, that was Jazzemoto with Music Lovers. the theme song from Music Lovers, the documentary, here on FonyeRadio.com. So, with that being said, here is the interview with Jazzemoto and Benton Jeter here in the Lion's Den with your boy DJ Leo the Lion on the #1 leading station, FonyeRadio.com.
Yo, this is your boy DJ Leo the Lion on the #1 leading station, FonyeRadio.com. And right now we're about to step into a time warp of information that we're gonna get into right now. And I got my man DJ Easy B on the line. What's up, yo?
What's going on in Atlanta? What's going on, Leo?
Yeah. And of course, I got my man Jazzemoto, Uptown's finest, now living in Brooklyn.
What's going on, Leo? Yeah, Harlem transplant via BK.
Yes, sir. So, we want to get into a little something that it looks like this is like very necessary for the culture of hip hop, and I believe it's called Music Lovers. Why are you who you are? Let's talk about this a little bit, because this is definitely down our alley as a station, because we're always looking to find out why people love the music that they love or listen to the music that they love. But I think you come in with this from a different perspective. So tell us a little bit the documentary and what inspired you to do this project.
Okay. Basically what it was, I'm actually a DJ, but I actually got into the culture initially in the beginning as a B-boy. And as I made that transition from that to DJing, and it was a gradual transition because, just being around music all the time, it was just that love for music. And as you progress and you graduate on different levels, it just, the music, I just start seeing that I was being drawn away from the music and what initially I got into it for, just because the programming and just the same 45 songs being played on radio all day. It just, I just never in my life thought I would ever say I don't like music because of the programming.
Okay. Oh, we'll talk about that. Okay. So basically, that's really what inspired you to do this project, because of what was being played on the radio, based on, the same 45 or 50 songs all the time being played?
I think it was a combination of things, Leo. It was that, but it was also, I never really understood how dangerous it is to be a DJ out here now. I mean, it's just like I've been punched in the face. I've beat people up with road cases myself. I even caught a case behind DJing. No, for real. I'm dead serious.
No, I'm laughing because I've heard these kind of stories often. So it's no diss to what you're saying. It's just confirmation, but it's funny as that.
Right. So, it was a combination of that, and it was also a combination, like I said, reiterating what I said, was just the music. It's just what drew me into the music, because of the changes. Not saying that I can't adapt to changes, but those elements brought that out of me, and then I just got inspired. I don't really know where the inspiration really came from. It was just a thing where I just started researching it and about film, and I felt like I had something to say, and it was just really amazing because I had direction from the beginning, and Jazzy will elaborate on that later. But it was more of a thing where, it was almost like blind lead. I just believed in something that I didn't know a whole bunch about, but I had it together.
Right.
And it just, the way that it fell in place, and I just know that it was God that helped me get to this point, because there's no one in the world that I would have been able to make it with the circumstances I was dealing with.
So basically, you just had something in you that needed to just get out, basically.
Yeah, it was like it was like hunger. It's just like having hunger pains. That's basically what it was like. And I guess that's the best way I can really describe it. It's just like it's really hard to explain. It's like you had this passion that's burning in you so much that you have to tell this story. Mm-hmm. You don't really know all the ins and outs of what you're getting into, but you're doing as much as you can knowledge-wise, and you're researching, and you know the whole everything, and it's just you're just walking with blind faith.
Right. Okay. So you started out as a b-boy. So basically, the music really had to inspire you a bunch, because the music as a b-boy is very driven with drums, a lot of percussion and everything like that. So I totally understand that, because I love the break beats. I love all the sounds that really inspire DJs. I mean, not DJs, but b-boys to get down. Whether it's top rocking, whether it's getting down on the ground, whether it's doing flares, whatever, CCs, whatever, or just going off, really. Because when we hear those certain songs, oh, it's on and cracking, even if we have on a 3-piece suit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yes. So who are some of the players in the documentary?
Let me. I'm actually pull it up this time so I can make sure that I'm on point. First, I got Rodney Stone from Funky 4.
Okay.
DJ Hollywood, Grand Wizard Theodore, Cutmaster DC, Jazzemoto, Kev Ski of the original Rocksteady crew, Tracy 168, Houdini, Doc Ice, Steve D, DJ Flawless, Mel Star, TJ Mizell, DJ Kim Possible, DJ Lady Love, DJ Bizarro, Son of Berserk, Chuck B of Public Enemy.
Okay, so you just don't have DJs. It sounds like you have also graph writers as well.
Right. Well, what I wanted to do is I thought it would be injustice to just. I think what happens is you have a lot of people that they talk about b-boying or talk about this aspect, but to tell the whole story, to get someone to really understand it, don't really understand the ins and outs and the development of this thing that we call hip hop or rap or whatever they want to call it now. You have to tell the whole story. You have to talk about the gangs. You have to talk about the landscape in the Bronx. You have to talk about, all these different things to bring the full picture. When you only talk about one thing, it doesn't bring the whole true definition. So to speak about the graffiti, to speak about the beatboxing, to speak about the b-boying, to speak about the DJing, all of that brings the whole picture together, and that's how a person gets a total understanding of what this thing is we call hip hop.
Okay. I'm going to slide over to Jazzemoto real quick. So, Jazzy, what part in this documentary do you play, and also within the of the history of this music or whatever? Tell us a little bit where you come from in this.
Okay, well, as far as hip hop, I came into it, I came into it wanting to be a DJ. Inadvertently, I accidentally became an MC more than the DJ in the beginning, but I come from the pause tape era, so it's like I was always into beats and breaks and all of that. And over the years, I've pretty much seen the evolution of hip-hop from the infancy stages to the present day. So it's like when it evolved from the streets to the industry to the current state of the industry, I've kind of seen a little bit of all of it. And how I came into play with the documentary was Benton hit me up on Facebook, and we was in a chat, and we got into a conversation about the culture as a whole and the changes in the culture because of the changes within the industry and the artists. And he told me about not so much the concept of the documentary, but the idea he had and the vision he had of what he wanted to bring to the documentary.
Right.
And he basically made me co-director. That was his call. I didn't ask for it. But he made me co-director of the documentary, and we were just kind of, feeding information back and forth between each other as far as the scope of what should be covered and the message that he was trying to relay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the beginning, it was just us on Facebook chatting for maybe, how long, Jeter? Would you say maybe a month or two before you actually came to New York that first time?
Yeah, it had to been that, at least that.
Yeah, at least 2 months. And when he came up to New York the very first time, he was staying in this hotel room, and, I met him at the airport and went with him back to the hotel room to get settled in. And then he laid the entire vision out on the hotel floor not so much scene for scene, but he had about maybe, I'd say, close to 24 sheets.
Okay.
With different aspects of what he wanted to show and what he was trying to relay, and he laid the whole thing out sheet for sheet on the hotel floor and started explaining to me more in detail of where he was trying to take it.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I totally got it, and I think that was at the point when he made me co-director, because it was like I was the only one that understood where he was coming from. Because I believe he had spoken to a couple other people about it, and they couldn't grasp the idea just from hearing him say it.
Right.
I grasped it from him saying it, and then when he visually explained it, it became even clearer. So I also played the part of doing certain interviews, filming certain footage with the videographer, and just basically, just going back and forth with him with ideas and concepts of how we wanted to relay this whole thing, pretty much. And like he said earlier, it was literally going into it totally blind. He felt that the creator gave him a path to follow. He didn't know where it was going to lead him, but he knew he had to stay on that path. And there was quite a few obstacles along the way, but he remained on that path, and we finally got to the point where today the documentary is pretty much finished.
Okay.
He was very diligent about what his vision was, and he wasn't going to let anybody change it or sway it.
Right.
Right. Let me interject real quick, Leo, before you get to the next question.
Okay.
The thing with what Jazzy was saying was everything was totally correct. But what happened in the beginning, if you remember, Jazzy, it was almost like I was trying to find the right people, and then it just started falling into place, because just like one of the crazy things, Jazzemoto's birthday's on the same day as my oldest sister. So it's sort of like, out of all the days in the year, why is this guy's birthday on the same day as my sister's birthday? So, it was just like it was made for it to happen like that. Same thing. Remember when we were at the park and we were talking, and then DJ Lady Love, you said her name, and I was like, well, I had already been talking to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of things that was like alignment. The alignment
they just totally lined up just by the strength of the Almighty, because it was no plan. There was no plan, there was no discussion, no nothing. It's just that we happened to end up in discussions and certain things got mentioned, and it kind of just lined itself up with what he had already kind of been doing, and things that I expressed to him is like, but there's a lot of instances during the course of getting this done that alone is a whole conversation, just the things that fell into place by the grace of the Almighty.
Okay.
Honestly.
Okay. So basically, you have a real thick all-star cast, and basically you got a lot of legends. You got a lot of people, that basically came up in the game. Of course, like Chuck D, Son of Berserk, they pretty much part of the same crew and everything. Then you have like pioneers like Hollywood, Rodney C, things like that. Did you have like anybody to say, you know what, I'm not sure I want to do this, because so many people ask me to do documentaries and things like that. Did you have anybody that pushed back a little bit to say, I really want to see something before I do this?
Yes.
He's tell the story, please.
That's a whole nother doorway. To get to that question, you hit it dead on the target. It was that, exactly that, and it was some amazing things that happened. I have to just elaborate on that particular point and another point real quick. But I came back from New York with this void. Actually was in New York for a week when I first started, and I came back from New York with this void with Hollywood. I had certain people like Jalil from Houdini and other people that had went to Hollywood. He just wasn't interested in doing the film, and in the story, he's like my uncle. Jalil talked about him so much, and the way that he talked about it is like I knew Hollywood. I mean, I knew his songs, and some of his songs, and I knew about his history, but it was like, I want to know this guy. I mean, I really want to know this guy, not just stories that somebody's telling me. So that's what kind of like drove me. So when I came back from New York, I was actually working a seasonal job, and this guy They just happened to pair me up with this guy, and he started working, and his name was Sincere. And he said he was from New York, and I said, well, ain't that funny? I just came back from New York. He said, well, what were you doing? I said, well, I'm a DJ, but I'm working on this documentary that I'm working on. And I explained the concept to the film to him, and he was like, wow, I'm impressed. I'm really feeling it. And I just came out and said, well, Hollywood didn't want to do it. He said, man, I got Hollywood's phone number. And I just tripped because, he had the phone number to the person that I'm having a problem with. But what was even more crazier, his birthday ended up being on the same day as my birthday. And that's what really freaked me out because, he said, well, maybe you can DJ my birthday party. He said my birthday is April 4th. I said, man, that's my birthday. So when he came to the next step, when he came and said he had Hollywood's phone number, I was feeling doubt. Like, why would Hollywood tell me, yes, a nobody's, not a nobody, but a nobody, and he told Jalil from Houdini, no. So he said, we're going to call him after work. So we called him after work. It took to the third phone call. He gets Hollywood on the phone. He's talking to Hollywood. Hollywood, what's up, man? Blah, blah, blah. I met this guy on this job that I'm working on. And he said he's working on a film. You're supposed to be in it. I want you to talk to him. So everybody else in the world had talked to Hollywood except for me. And I just simply got on the phone and I said, Mr. Hollywood, how you doing, sir? I said, isn't it funny that you've been hearing about me and people have been coming to you about this film? And you even told some people that you weren't interested in doing the film. But I said, isn't it amazing how God works? I said, it's just, I got it. I just happened to met today. His birthday's on the same day as mine. He has your phone number, and you hear my voice anyway. And that's how I got Hollywood.
Okay. All right. So I got a chance to peep some of the footage and everything. And but what caught me to even start getting with you guys, because I'm deep into the DJ culture like you guys are. But what really intrigued me was the scene where Jazzy is talking about Steve D and things like that. Tell me a little bit about some of the segments that people can look forward to that would just blow their mind, basically.
Okay. Well, I don't really want to give the concept away because there is a concept to this. It's not just straight just say, this is what it was and what it is now, but it's really got a serious message in this. And I think in today's time, we live in such a world where we live where fake is the new real. Okay. And when you see something real, it's like, is this real or not? And that's kind of like the situation. But the scenes that really stand out to me, I love Jazzemoto's because every scene was like personable, and it was like, Jazzy took me to where he's from, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, this guy showing me in his neighborhood, and it just really brought it home. It was real personable. I think that he was very descriptive in the way that he did it, in the way that he said it. It really it bridges everything together in his segment. Steve D, because you said about Steve D, just because Steve being who he is, and actually Flawless Rock and Rob song was actually sing too as well. And we were just basically sitting in, and we caught the attention of a little boy that was at the skateboard park, and I basically invited him over to sit down with us. And in that scene, you will see evidence that we, as the mature in hip-hop, we need to pass off this teaching, the teaching aspect, and not get so caught up on the entertainment aspect of hip-hop. Right. Because what's happening is like there's a gap between the generations. And I think what's happening is you have these people that's mature in the game. They're so stuck in their ways and caught on what it was and how it is now, but they don't realize as they're getting older, that generation dies out. There's nobody to replenish. And it's the exact same thing that's going on with the police brutality and the killing. You have these young people standing, blocking the road up the interstate, what have you. They don't have any leadership. They don't know anything about the law. The baton was never passed off to them from the people from the civil rights movement, because those people are too old if they didn't kill them off, or they're just too old to fight. They can't fight the fight. So that's the bigger thing with this thing, is that, we really need to address the educational aspect and not spend so much time with just the entertainment aspect of the thing. And you will see other evidences of that in the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, you had something, Jazzy? Did you want to say something, Jazzy?
Jazz.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I thought you wanted to say something. Okay, no problem.
Oh, no, I was saying it's more or less as he was just saying, I was just agreeing the fact that, the mature generation of hip-hop really has to teach the younger generation about what the principles and the core of this really is about, because the younger generation is being led by the industry, who really isn't doing nothing but milking all the money they can get out of it, and just, in my opinion, stringing these artists along and feeding them fantasies that's never going to come about, because once their usefulness to the industry gets to that point, they're going to discard them just like they did the older generation. So we as the elder statesmen have to start enlightening the younger ones that there's more to this than just getting on the mic and just saying whatever you're saying and, just being in front of the video cameras and on the shows. There's more to it than that. That's one facet of it, but you got to learn these other pieces because it's going to help you safeguard what you're trying to bring about as an artist. And the biggest issue I see is that the younger generation doesn't want to listen to the older generation because it's a case of, y'all old, y'all don't know what y'all talking about, it's a different time. And then you have the reverse scenario where some of the older ones is still stuck on, I didn't make this much money when I was doing it. And a few of them are still bitter about what they didn't get to accomplish, but I have to keep it 100% real. A lot of them got so caught up in the drug game, as far as the usage of drugs and things like that. Some of them got so deep into it they could never come back. So a lot of them, now that they're starting to get themselves together, they're feeling a kind of way because they feel like they missed the boat that these younger ones are getting on and cashing in on. And nobody's to blame for that. They made the choice.
Yeah.
But now it's like they got to put that behind them and think about enlightening the younger ones now because they're lost. They really are. They have no concept of what hip-hop is. They just think, just make a hot beat and just come up with a hot hook, and that's all it takes. And there's more to the culture than that.
Yeah,
there's way more to the culture than that.
More to it than that, for real. So, with that being said, that's a very good segue into this question. Do you see yourselves going into like youth programs or areas where you can actually take the documentary and show people or show kids how it should be done, or just kind of give them a glimpse of what it took to get to this point? What's the direction going forward?
Okay. Well, the thing with those points that you brought up, that's exactly the direction that I'm supposed to take this film, and I believe this is what God wants me to do. Basically, that was the purpose of the film, was to really gear it towards the younger kids, maybe on the community center level, even the kids that's going to school for broadcast media, anybody that's going to school for media, broadcast, anything like that. And I hate to say it, but that middle group, they're almost like the Walking Dead. It's almost like there's almost no way to bring them back because they've been so polluted and so tainted. But the ones the younger ones, they'll listen. That's not saying I'm writing them all off, but pretty much the Lil Waynes and the Rich Homie Quans and all this other have gotten into them so much that it's irreversible. You can't change it. Almost, it's almost to that point. So what's going to make this film different is that's what I want to direct it towards, and not just that in the film. I wanted to see people that I just wasn't a director with a camera, let me film them, but I wanted people to see that how I interact with hip hop and how I have stake with this. It's not just that I just want to take advantage of it. That's the first thing. Second thing is that I also want to take proceeds from the sales of the DVDs, merchandising, to go back to helping organizations helping kids like the kids in New York, like what Kevski and JR and we're doing over at St. James Community. Because if we don't reach back and we don't do that, it's eroding away. And that's the whole thing. So I can't think of another documentary film, first of all, to have kids in it, and you listening to what they have to say. They're the next generation coming up. And I don't know any documentary that has the director and he's busting suicides like he's on Beach Street. I don't know. I'm keeping it real. I don't know another documentary where they talking about where I took my own money. I slept in that little closet in Chinatown. That's my hometown, Chinatown in New York, and basically taking the money that you put up and then you turning around and giving it back to help the youth to keep hip hop to keep going, to, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that's what I feel, and I mean I really feel that to the heart. This is not about me; it's bigger than me.
Right.
And this is what this is just evidence throughout the whole thing, just let me know that God is behind this. Jazzy will tell you that you need to elaborate on that.
Because it really comes out to the fact that a lot of people do documentaries thinking of monetary gain when they, from the onset. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to put it out, and whatever proceeds I get, I'm going to make a profit from. And it's like, ever since Benton started this, he was always like, he's always said throughout from day one up to now, like, this is not about me. This is bigger than me. This isn't about me. It's not about us. It's about the youth and enlightening them. And he's been saying that from the beginning. This is what God wants me to do, to help the youth understand what this is truly about. And, he hasn't looked at any ways of, okay, well, I could do this and we could take this money and I could invest it in this to get my DJ system together. And he hasn't said a word to that nowhere throughout this whole process. Even when it got really, some of the obstacles got really challenging where he was almost ready to give up. And he didn't, because God moved the obstacle and put something else in its place to make things move forward. And it kept them motivated.
So, I'm glad we got that part out the way, because I think that's very, very important, because you're right. A lot of people get into filmmaking or doing documentaries for a gain of a profit, but I really, truly, really hear it and understand that you guys are really, really trying to, motivate the children, motivate people that really want to know about hip hop in its rawest essence and everything. So before I get into a couple of my last questions, there's one thing I wanted to ask, and either one of you guys can ask this. What does it mean to you when somebody says hip hop is dead?
Let me answer that one first.
Okay.
When I hear that statement, hip-hop is dead, I look at the people as saying it as they have no vision. They don't see nothing past their own hand in front of their face, because hip-hop is so deep. There's so many levels to it that it could never die. That's number one, because back in the late 70s, early 80s, when we started getting into recorded hip-hop, and the industry was going, oh, this is just a fad. It's not going to last more than a couple of years. Sylvia Robinson had a vision, and she saw and knew, no, this is a moneymaker, and I'm going to keep doing it because I know it's going to be bigger than what it is now. She believed in it, and her belief, in turn, started proving to the majors that if you just invest a little time and a little vision in some of these artists, this can be profitable. So when I hear that statement, hip-hop is dead, I really look at the people saying it like, you don't have any vision. you see what's going on in the industry and you can't see nothing past that. Whereas, like in the case of myself, I did my first album a year ago. Unfortunately, my computer crashed and I lost all the data. But luckily, I did have one thing in there that, Leo, you have been playing on your show and it is greatly appreciated, called Motivated.
Yes, sir.
When I did that album, my whole mentality on that album was people 40 and over don't have any hip-hop geared towards them anymore. It's like Benton said earlier, the Lil Waynes, the Rich Homie Quans, the Young Jeezys, the younger artists from like 2000 and on. Nobody has made music for anybody that grew up in hip-hop in the 80s.
Right.
So when I did my album, I'm like, I'm going to do an entire album filled with songs that only people that are older can relate to. So it's like when they say hip-hop is dead, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, because if you got people that still at 50, mid-50s, going into their 60s, that still love hip-hop, you know, just as much as they did when they were young, how dead can it be? It's just that nobody's catering to that crowd anymore, and all the younger ones, they all sound the same. It's like everybody has not so much the same exact cadence, but their music has the same type of bounce. Their flow has the same type of bounce to a degree. And it's like it all sounds the same. And that was the difference of when our generation came up. Public Enemy didn't sound like Cool G Rap. KRS-One didn't sound like Sugar Hill Gang. The Boogie Boys didn't sound like Kid and Play. So we had diversity. There was a lot of diversity in hip-hop back then, musically. Right. Whereas now, everything's homogenized. It sounds all the same.
Right. Yeah, I could remember, too, that if you were biting on somebody, you would just whack.
Yes. Whereas today, that's commonplace.
Yes,
people are taking lines from other people's song. Old school, new school doesn't make a difference. They'll take a line from somebody else's song and say it like it's theirs, and nobody raises an eyebrow anymore.
Right. Also, I can remember.
It's like Master Ace said in the symphony. There's a sign on the door, no biting allowed. Somewhere since 2001, somebody put a match to that sign and just let it burn to the crisp.
You're so right about it. You're so right about it. I also remember when there was a time where if your music was not good, you basically were told to go back to the lab and try again.
And try again. That's the truth. Like, nah, that sounds too much like so-and-so. That's not you. Go back to the drawing board.
Yeah. So,
let me get some of that, man. Now,
yes,
my turn. You said hip hop is dead. True or false? False. And the reason why I say that is because, once again, what Jazzy said, you have to see whose mouth is coming out of first. That's the first thing. Second, if hip hop is dead, that means I'm dead. If hip hop is dead, that means it's dead in Japan. It's dead in these other countries. Right. And see, that's the thing. What's happening is you have these individuals. They have tunnel vision so much that they don't really realize that this thing is not just a city block in New York. It's touched people. It touched people like me and myself, down here. If everybody down in Atlanta or wherever you are down here, everybody don't listen to, excuse what I said, but everybody don't listen to this country ass shit.
Right.
Everybody don't listen to that. You know what I'm saying? And that's my whole take. That's my whole take on it, because it's a global thing, and that's what I look. I don't look at one region of the country or what have you, because it's all over the whole entire world.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. And basically, you bring that out very clearly, because what we're on right now is an internet radio station, so we're reaching people all over the globe. So to say that something is dead is basically you're very tunnel vision about what the concept of the whole thing is, because basically from where it came from something. It came from nothing to something.
Exactly.
And it just blew up to something that is over $1 trillion or close to $1 trillion industry.
Yes.
So basically, somebody
from abandoned vacant lots in the Bronx to $1 trillion industry.
Right, plugging into light poles.
Uh-huh.
So
and it's funny you say that, Leo, because me and Easy T was having a conversation a few weeks back. Because, you know, you always had one guy in the crew that was always the one brave enough to go up in that light pole and hook everything up, right? I happen to be the one, you know, in my time that, because my father was an electrician, I wasn't scared of it.
Right.
But I didn't think 1 second back then, one little slip and you could have died. 600 volts of electricity going straight through your body with nothing to stop it.
Nope, nothing.
We took a whole lot of risks back then, all for the sake of how much we loved this thing called hip-hop.
It was very organic.
Yes. And I think one of the biggest, like, things that create that tunnel vision with the younger generation is the fact that they didn't experience that. They didn't experience the park era. They experienced the industry era from like the late 80s into the 90s, and that's what they see it as being. So the whole culture of packing up the equipment, carrying the crates, and carrying the speakers and the amps and running the cords to the lamp posts and, you know, taking all that stuff, your fans to cool your amps, they have no relation to that. So if we as the older generation don't show that to them and enlighten them to it, all they're going to think hip-hop is, okay, you just get on the mic and talk over a beat.
Right.
And that's only one facet of hip-hop as a whole.
Right. Okay. So I have one more question for you, and then we're going to wrap this up. You talked about certain things that just happen, like for instance, I remember you kind of telling me about a train ride or whatever. Kind of tell me about that and how this all kind of gelled together to make this all happen. It's like certain things happen and you really can't explain, but it seems like God was really all in it.
Well, I'm gonna start it out, Jay.
Okay.
This is one thing that I do know. I used to come to New York. I have family. Matter of fact, my youngest sister, she lives in upstate, but I have family that live in New York, and I used to come up to New York. Originally being from VA, I mean, I've lived in different places, but originally being from VA, I used to come up and tape record stuff off of KISS and BLS, and I would let it run through the commercials too, because I wanted to VIM stores, but stores in Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, and Queens, Staten Island, Long Island. I even know the order.
Oh yes.
The announcers, you know what I'm saying? It was just like you know, and so I got a touch of that. But how that ties into the train, you have to really look at the train as symbolism. The same trains that were running on those tracks back in the 70s and the 80s are running on those same lines today. And if that train stops, that train unifies the whole city. So it doesn't matter if you're from uptown, it don't matter if you're from Brooklyn, it don't matter if you're from the Bronx or whatever. That train holds everything together and pulls everything together. So that's what makes everybody pretty much have the same thing in common. You have that train in common. And it was some really amazing things that happened along the lines, like I said, what you were saying about the development of this film. And I'm going to let Jazzy kind of explain to you what happened a little bit after I make this last statement. Basically, there was a guy in New York that helped me up for 10 months on this film when I first started, October 2011. And I don't really fault him. I just think he was just timid. He just really didn't know what to do. And so I told him that I was going to have to come to New York and get that footage. But prior to me getting the footage, I had spoke to this guy named Sid up in New York, and my man in Virginia gave me his number. So I called him. I told him about the concept. He was like, I want to do it. And I told him I wasn't going to hire him because he said he edited. I said, I'm going to come to New York. I'm going to get this footage. And then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to wait on confirmation from God to tell me what I'm supposed to do. So I go up to New York, get the footage. Me and Jazzy, we're hanging out in Harlem. You can take it from there, Jazzy.
Okay. Now, here's what happened. We went to one of the after-work spots where Mel Star was spinning. We ran into a couple of hip-hop luminaries along the way, Silver Fox, Powwow,
JDL.
oh, it was a few heads up in there that night.
Mm-hmm.
And we was in there chilling, basically just to kind of go and have a little quick, one-on-one with Melstar just to give him the update of where we were so far. So we leave from out of there and go over to Popeyes on 125th and St. Nicholas to go get a bite to eat.
All right.
Now, unbeknownst to us at the time, the brother Sid is actually in there with us. We just wasn't aware of it. So we went back to the spot and was talking with Mel and a couple of other people for maybe another 15, 20 minutes. And then we left because Jeter had a flight that morning, and I wanted to get him back to the house so he could, get himself together and be prepared so we can get out on time to the airport.
Right.
So now, as we go back to 125th to get on the train, Sid is actually sitting on the platform waiting for the train. Now, as me and Benton is walking down the stairs, we have on the shirts that basically said Music Lovers with the big Y in the middle, Are You Who You Are? So he notices both of us with the big Ys in the middle of the shirt, and it catches his attention.
Right. Okay.
So he's eating, and, since he's a clean brother, he went to put his trash in the trash receptacle on the platform. Had he not done that, he would have ended up in the car in front of us.
Okay.
So just as the train comes in, he puts his trash in the receptacle and runs to the car to get on the train. Now, he has his camera with him, which catches my attention right off the bat. So I ask him, brother, how long have you been, working with video? And we get into it, we strike up a conversation, and we come to find out we have mutual people that work at BCAT and Manhattan Cable, basically, at Time Warner Cable, basically. So we're talking, back and forth and comparing notes about the stuff I've done, the stuff he's done. And through the conversation, he mentions a name of a brother that Benton knew. And Benton says, wait a minute, that name sounds familiar. So he starts going through his phone, his call log, because he had just spoken to the brother not too long ago.
Okay.
And then he sees the brother's number, and he looks up, and he looks at Sid and goes, "Are you Sid?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then we start telling him, no, actually, I missed the point. I start explaining to Sid about the documentary and, the projects that we're working on, and he says that's what made him mention the other brother's name. He says that a brother spoke to him about a project like that, and then he said the brother's name, and that's when Benton was like, wait a minute, that name sounds familiar. So, long story short, we end up finding out that this is the brother Sid that Benton was already talking to for a month, but never met him. So the fact that we all ended up in the same car, that couldn't have been nothing but God. That could have been nothing but God.
Right, because I was speaking to him from Atlanta, and I never seen him before. We didn't have any way of knowing that we were that close in proximity of each other because he never saw the shirt before. He just remembered the description that I was giving him of the story. And he couldn't make the distinction between the shirt, and he couldn't make the distinction between us because he hadn't seen the shirt or seen us. It was just that I had been talking to him from Atlanta, and it was just out of all the variables, all the different things, if we would have stayed at the club just a second later or took another route or him took another route, just all the variables and how we ended up in the same train car out of all the different scenarios that can go on in New York. I just think that's amazing. I mean, I mean, and Jazzy, I remember Jazzy threw his hands up in the air, and he was just like, man, I can't wait to get home. I got to put this on. I got to put this on Facebook.
I'm telling you, Leo, I was in total amazement all the way back home. Like, yo, there's no way this could have been planned except by the Most High. There's no way it could have happened the way that it did because it was totally unplanned on his part and our part. But fate brought us together in that car. All because had he not thrown his trash, had he been one of the typical hood New Yorkers that he would have just left his trash on the bench, he would have ended up in the car in front of us and we'd have never met.
Right. Okay.
So
all right.
That one, I was totally in awe that night. Like, wow, there's no way in the world this could have been planned.
Okay. So basically, When can we expect to see the documentary? Does it have a release date or anything?
Well, right now at this particular point, I don't have an exact release date, but what I have been doing is I've actually been getting it out to all the individuals that's in the film first, out of respect for their time and their contribution to the film. But I do have a website that you can stay in tune to. It's www.music, MUZIKLUVAHAZ.com. Let me spell it again. Music, MUZIKLUVAHAZ.com. I've also been planting seeds along the way. I actually took it to Chubb Rock, and he's been knowing about the film for a while. And also Ed Lover and Moni Love, they have a show here in Atlanta. So I'm getting ready to keep everybody posted. Stay tuned to the website, my Facebook page, my government name. You can find that Benton, Benton is my first name. Jeter, like Derek Jeter, the baseball player, Jeter. You can stay in tune and add me as a friend, and I also have Music Lovers, Why Are You Who You Are radio, and also Music Lovers Why Are You Who You Are groups that you can join too. Also, that's probably the best way, because I try to keep people informed of what's going on with the film by the groups. But if you add me personally, I will just add you to the group automatically. So that's how you do it.
Oh, cool. So Jazzy, I heard there was a song to this documentary. I need that track, son.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get the full version of it. Okay. Yeah, Music Lovers, Why Are You Who You Are is me featuring Miss Diane Terrell, who we recently discovered passed away late last summer.
Yeah.
And what's crazy, even with that, I mean, it's very sad that she did pass away, but I have known Diane for maybe a little under a decade. And, actually her love is actually gospel. But we had been talking about doing a project together since we met. And Music Lovers just happened to end up being the project we finally came together on.
All right.
Now, the version of the song that's in the documentary itself, she's mainly on the hook. The version that I'm going to be sending you, she's all throughout the whole track. Ad-libs, the hook, the whole thing. It sounds beautiful. It really does.
Okay.
It really does. And I'm going to be getting that to you shortly. I just want to do one last tighten-up mix, and then I'm going to be getting that to you to blast off to the world.
Okay.
You get first rights above everybody else.
Amen. I love that. Exclusive.
Exclusive.
You got to go, you got to do the horn.
Then. Exclusive.
You got to go, you got to do the horn or something, man.
This is a world premiere. A world premiere.
Yeah. But because the song actually came about because when he told me the concept, and I think we had maybe just the interview with Rodney Stone. And at that point, I was like, well, this is going to need a theme song.
Okay.
So I had mentioned the idea to Benton, and he said, well, all right, let me hear what you're going to do. So I started the song, and the version he has in the film is the one that I sent him.
Okay.
So when he heard it, he liked it. He played it on his radio show several times, and it's pretty much, it fits. It's like the content that I use during the verses. It addresses the whole concept of the title of the movie. Is like, why are you who you are? Music drives us from birth. It's like there's a line in there I say, the first connection you make with your parents is through sound. The sound of your heartbeat, the sound of your mom's voice, so sweet. Couldn't see it or touch it, but we could feel it. Instinctively in tune with the mind as a seed. So real, it's music. In another form, I can't lie. But we love it from the womb, but the question is, why?
All right. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, with that being said, we're gonna wrap this down. So,
all right.
before we get up out of here, is there anybody that you want to thank? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people I'm sure you want to thank, but is there anybody in particular that really gave you the push, the prod? Be like, yo, you got to keep moving. You can't stop. You can't stop. This needs to happen. Is there somebody like that you want to thank and say thank you for just being there as a support or whatever?
Oh, is that you directed towards me?
Anybody.
Okay. Well, I just want to. I'm gonna keep mine short. First of all, I want to thank the Most High God. That's the first thing, because I would have never been able to do this if I would have never had my own hands, and just by the stories, you could see that. If you really can see, you can see that. Second, I want to thank my parents and my family for believing in me. Just during the whole course of this, Jazzemoto. I gotta thank him because he was very instrumental. And yeah, I even made reference to Jazzy. He's like the Scarecrow, and I'm Dorothy on my travels to. No, for real. I mean, no.
I like that analogy. That's cute.
He's the Scarecrow. He's the first person that I met on the way, like Dorothy trying to make it to Emerald City, and everybody that's in the film, Steve D was, he was a very inspirational mix professor, very instrumental. Australia got a guy named Alex Scott that's in Australia, who's actually a Zulu Nation member. I've had a lot of people. I don't want to leave anybody out or make anybody, upset by me not mentioning names, but like I said, I love and respect everybody that had any part in this, and I'm telling you right now, if the people that's in support of this, the Most High is going to bless them. And that's all I can say.
Amen. Jazzy?
Well, in my case, of course, I want to thank the Most High God for seeing us through this, because there was a lot of obstacles that could have, capsized the whole situation a long time ago, but the faith was there to stick it out. I also want to thank every individual who took out the time to give their time for their interviews in the documentary. I also want to thank all of those who came in to support us from the beginning all the way up to the present day. Kevsky and the Original Skills crew, Iris Donovan, oh man,
it's so many.
Jonette Sowell. It's so many. If I name them all, we'll be here another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But just all of those who supported us from the beginning, and also definitely to you, Leo, for finally, I'm so happy that I got you and Gita connected, because I know how much can happen once you two start working together. And lastly, I just want to shout out and thank my Extra Tough Entertainment family and my B Squad family. Thanks to all the family at Fonye Radio.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. So that's going to do it for this interview. I thank you for taking the time out to talk about your project and everything. And I'm sure it's going to be a blessing to those that finally get to see it. And, you got an open line to my show and to Fonye. Just hit us up and you're good to go.
All right. Well, appreciate you for having us, Leo. Really do.
No doubt.
Oh, and one last thing.
Bless you guys. And
this is for everybody listening. Stay tuned. Jazzemoto returns to the Lion Den very shortly. Stay tuned. There's so much heat coming, I can't even talk about it.
Yes, sir. That's right. Jazzemoto's been a little absent, but he's back in motion, so stay tuned.
Yes, I am.
Stay tuned, listeners. The Lion's Den show is definitely in effect. Thank you, brothers, and I
all right, man.
Peace,
Leo.
We'll get in touch. Peace.
Yo, I want to thank my man Jazzemoto and Benson Jeter for that interview. You've been listening to the Lion's Den show here on FonyeRadio.com, the #1 leading station. Good night and God bless.